Welcome to LHS Live, every Wednesday morning from 9:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. Where you'll hear from new guests every week on relevant topics. Community-based, student-driven. And now, your host, Joe Roberts. Man, I'm getting a lot of echo in my ear.
Mm-hmm.
All right, pull one of those ears off of me so I can hear. All right, Mr. P, who are you and why are you here?
Well, because you asked me to be here, I'm going to address the second question. Now, I am Mark Patterson, simple dude, from Crosby, Liberty area, have family out here. And a little bit about me. I am a singer, songwriter, instrumentalist, and I just love what I do.
Well, I love that you love what you do. So you're a singer, songwriter, in addition to all the stuff that you do over at the middle school. So let's talk a little bit about that singing and songwriting before we get into the meat of your award-winningness.
Okay.
What kind of stuff do you sing and write?
Well, I sing pretty much anything. Once I actually started singing when I started singing out in the circuits. I started with country music. That was my beginning.
What? Wait, hold up.
Yeah.
All right, Daxton, I know you were in his middle school choir, right?
I was.
Did you ever see this man in cowboy boots or cowboy gear?
No, I'm not quite sure I saw him in anything cowboyish. I mean, he always had a relatively well thought out outfit every day, though.
So you're like urban cowboy? Is that what we're going with?
No, actually, I mean, I sang country music. I sang country music.
I cannot. I can't even wrap my brain around that.
Yeah, even still, I actually do a lot of country. I play for CMA's 2015 Country Rising Star, Abby Goff. I am her road keyboardist, so anytime she goes out or does anything, I'll play for her. And she's kind of shifted her focus now. But we started out as a country band, and we did that, and we sang in the Opry circuits a long time when she was a little girl, and I was about 16 or so. And so that's how we kind of got connected and started in the Opry circuit singing country music. Shortly after that, around high school, I started playing, and that's when the keyboard work started to come in. So I started playing more piano and started doing a lot more work with choirs and playing for choirs and all of that. And I got a degree in education, started teaching, and that's where my love is really teaching.
So when did you? How young were you when you started playing?
Actually, I started playing piano when I was about 12. I sat on it until actually after high school. That's when I started playing out. But my instruction years was about 12 to 18.
Okay, so you weren't exactly, Mozart starting when you were 3 or 4 or whatever, composing symphonies.
No, and I'm still not. Actually, I started playing because my dad. I wasn't supposed to play. I was not supposed to play any instrument, well, at least piano, because back then, when I was coming up, playing piano was frowned upon for guys, especially in the black community, because it was like, if you play piano in the black community, you was a little suspect. So can I say that on LHS Live?
You just said it, so I don't know if you can or not, but you just
I
did.
just said it. I said what I said. But no, back then, I mean, it was one of those things that was a stigma, and so I started playing on. It was, I would just say, an act of God, if you will. And so sat on that, and yeah.
So you got this thing, and what you just said was really beautiful to me. You're doing something that, when you're looking at it on its face, is not a traditional thing, especially in the circles that you run in. And now you're doing something, and you're being very good at that something. Do you feel like that's maybe changing the idea? Because I know a lot of black keyboard players. I mean, just tons and tons. So I never would have even known that was something.
Yeah, I mean,
because those are always the cool guys to me.
Yeah, it just depends on what you're playing. Depends on a lot of other things. But to really be a keyboardist, especially to really just kind of be a keyboardist, that's what you do. That was one of the things. Like no, that's not what the traditional path that you should have wanted to take. So I honestly started playing keyboard because I was like, I like this song. I want to learn how to play it. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how my interest developed, and I realized that, I actually can do it. So
now that you have that experience, I can't help but think that is something that you lean on a lot, being the choral director for a bunch of kids that probably have not been singing in any sort of traditional or cohesive environment before they get to you, right? So you use the keyboard a lot to help them develop their ear or do whatever other things you're going to do, right?
Right. We do use keyboard a lot, but actually in a choral setting, it's best practice now not to really lean on keyboard much. A lot of people who are really proficient in keyboard, they try to just bang out notes and bang out rhythms and play a lot because that's their strong suit. Mm-hmm. But what we try to do here at Liberty, of course, because Ms. Bean is a classically trained pianist and a degreed pianist, she even tries not to just use her piano skills to push the students, but actually allow them to develop their ear and, do it. I don't want to say the hard way, but just build a skill to where they don't lean and rely on the piano. They rely on their skill sets. So,
see, I would never have guessed that. Just because I know how great she is at piano, and I've heard you play on numerous occasions, and I know how great you are as well. And don't try to sell yourself short on that. You are don't eye roll me, man. I know how good you are.
I play because I have to. I don't play because especially reading. Because I didn't grow up reading, and I wasn't pushed to read when I got to college. Of course, that was just a natural thing. And so now it's almost as if when I read, I'm like, I have to force myself to read because I'm so used to using my ear. Mm-hmm. So they work against each other a lot. So I'm like, ugh.
All right, Daxton, I'm going to turn the attention toward you just real quick because I know again that you were part of his choir. Is Mr. P? Is he full of baloney about not doing the keyboard stuff? Because I know you've heard him play a lot, right?
Well, I've definitely heard him play multiple times. But what he was saying is actually quite true, especially coming from middle school choir into high school. Both of the directors, they try not to lean as much towards the piano because, like he said, it builds a skill to where we won't have to use it when we're trying to find a pitch.
Okay. All right, so little did you know that I was going to have him kind of a little exercise with you on air.
Yeah.
His eyes just got as big as a dish. All right, so now let's turn our attention. Well, you know what? Let's not go there yet because I forgot to ask the keynote question. You are a family man, right?
Yes.
You have a wife, lovely wife. Tell us all about that.
Man, you
ouch.
get married.
Okay.
You get married. You start a family. You do those things.
How long have you been married?
This is a year.
She's probably not watching.
No.
But she might later, so you better get this right.
Yeah. I tend to just focus on the things that I've been I just know when it happened. You know, I don't even know what day it is. This is unfair, Coach Roberts.
Okay.
I'm just, nah.
I told you I wasn't going to ask you any curveball questions, and here I am throwing you
Yeah,
out.
you
What's
know?
your anniversary
Right,
date?
right.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sorry.
December 5th, I think.
See, he stalled a long time before he threw that one out.
Had to give him some time.
One of those
Okay.
dates.
I know it happens once a year. It's at some
Something,
point.
Something.
Okay, all right.
Man.
And what does your wife do?
So she works in medical. She works in the medical field.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't that sound like she's like an agent or something? Because he did not specifically say what it was.
Yeah,
It's
her-
like
her
medical field. She's in the military. I
In
can't
my
tell you about
defense,
that.
Yeah, in my defense, she has a super complex job that nobody knows about. Like, it's the stuff, everybody knows about doctors, lawyers. The stuff that she does is like, I am a coordinator for and you're like, what? I don't even know. I don't even go to the hospital.
Okay.
I don't even know how to spell coordinator.
Okay,
so.
Mr. P, you're doing that classic elementary thing when they're like, "Hey, what's your girlfriend's name?" "Oh, you don't know her. She goes to a different school." Okay,
That.
yeah,
Yeah.
that. All right. I'm just gonna leave this whole line of questioning closed because you're shutting me down here. Let's move back
That's
toward
what-
music.
I don't know all these things. I just focus on what I just can remember,
Oh, if you're not careful, our producer is gonna pipe in here in just a second, and he's gonna steamroll you with something. So let's just steer it back.
This is unfair. I didn't sign up for this. Tap, tap, tap.
All right, let's talk about award-winning choral director. Liberty Middle School Choir did something that they've never done before over the course of, was it yesterday or the day before?
Yesterday.
Yesterday, because today's only Wednesday. All right, so yesterday you got a dual sweepstakes, and that's never occurred before, right?
Actually, last year was the first
Okay,
time.
so it's
Yeah.
never been back-to-back or something like that.
Yeah, it hasn't been back to back. And prior to that, like I say, the guys ensemble, the tenor bass ensemble, prior to last year, had never in recorded history, UIL history, earned a sweepstakes.
So tell me what a sweepstakes is, first of all.
Sweepstakes, when you look at UIL concert and sight reading contest, it is pretty much the star test for music organizations. It's a two-part contest, just what it sounds like. There's a concert, you sing 3 songs, and then there is sight reading, where you go in and you read a piece of music that you've never seen before, and you have to actually sing it. And there's super objective criteria to justify whether a group earns the highest rating or any rating. And the highest rating is a 1, and the lowest rating you can get is a 5. Well, actually, disqualification is the lowest rating you probably can get. But nevertheless, it's super easy. And when we go through this process, I tell those kids simple stuff like, if we have a 6-minute study period in the sight reading room, so we go in, you can talk, you cannot sing. No one can sing. If anyone sings during that 6 minutes, you're automatically disqualified.
So wait, if somebody in the choir
Sings during that 6-minute study period, you're automatically. Matter of fact, before you even get there, if anyone opens the music before the 6 minutes start, we're
well,
disqualified.
that's like putting me in a room full of candy and telling me I can't have any for
Right.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
I mean, it's super rigorous, and you have to practice the process a lot in order to be good, in order to go in there confidently and know how to do it. And so, anyway, that's just sight reading. The concert is a whole nother thing. But for a choir, there's 3 judges for each part of the contest, and each judge gives you a score of 1 to 5. What a sweepstakes is you earn a 1 in concert and you earn a 1 in sight reading. And so if you get both, then you what we call sweep.
Okay.
So
like a 1 is I would pay money to go listen to you, and a 5 means maybe you should think about a different career in music.
you shouldn't have came.
You shouldn't have
just
showed
don't
up.
come. Don't
Okay,
come.
okay.
Yeah, but a 1 really. Texas is the premier state for Texas is the bar. Texas sets the bar nationally for music, and it's super rigorous. You have some middle school and high school choirs that sound like they can be recording daily. And I mean, this is the standard for Texas, not necessarily everywhere else around the country, but for Texas, a 1 at UIL means that your choir is really doing something great.
Awesome. All right, you are watching LHS Live. We're about halfway through this thing. I'm Joe Roberts, and I'm here with special guest Mark Patterson, the LMS Choir Director, award-winning choir director, affectionately known as Mr. P by many and PDP by a few of us. I'm not going to go into what that means, but thank you for being here. All right, let's carry on with this thing. All right, Dax, you were part of that first group from last year that were the award winner. So what was it like working with Mr. P?
Oh, it was great. Mr. P is always, since I've been in choir in sixth grade, Mr. P has always been like a friend to me. You know, not just a director or a teacher. You know, we've gotten along on a further level than that. So working with him and the people that were in the choir throughout those years, it was really, we were all really close. You know, we all got along. There wasn't really much conflict, and when there was, we were able to chop it out like that. It was a really great experience. And my eighth grade year, when we won the sweepstakes, I shed a tear. I'm gonna be honest. It was a moving experience.
Making kids cry, Mr. Patterson.
Man.
Okay. What was it about? Because they had never had the sweepstakes before. So what was it emotionally that got to you? Was he pumping y'all up full of encouragement and telling you how big of a deal this was, or what?
Well, you know, most of us were really overwhelmed with the situation, and Mr. P being there, you know, he would help us focus and breathe and calm down. And I remember when he came out, and you know, we were all waiting for the results of what we did. He acted all sad and stuff, and he was like, "Well, we got sweepstakes," and then everybody started screaming and crying. It was crazy.
That was cruel, Mr. P.
It was. I admit they deserved it. No.
Oh, so you got these kids, you got this group, and you almost left the district not long ago, right? You were going to go into the business world, right?
Yeah. So in addition to my music stuff, I serve on the board for a nonprofit organization. Over the years, I've done had some safety certs and things like that, and just some competing interest, if you will. And I thought, well, music is good, but you know, I want to do some other things, embrace a different challenge. And so I was pursuing something different. And I just, in my opinion, I feel like God is just like, hey, this is what I want you to do. And I'm glad, because it's all about them. You know, for them to have that experience, for them to accomplish that, means the world to me, because I remember being their age and not having someone to push me, not having someone, even though I've, you know, competed nationally. And, you know, actually me and August Alsina, we competed together when we were in Houston that year. I think it was like my sophomore year in high school. I was competing and, you know, doing things and interacting with a lot of key players in the Houston music scene. And I just remember being super insecure. I remember being like, I can't do this. And even though everyone would tell me, like, you're good, you got this, etc., I just didn't have that confidence. But I also didn't have someone now, in hindsight, looking back, to really push me and say, no, you're good. Let me validate you. Let me make sure that you know you're good. And that's one of the things that I did through that process with them. You know, they can listen and they can tell, yeah, that's a 2, that's a 3. They can tell you that sounds horrible. We're not blended. We're not balanced. And so I gave them the confidence and to know what it should sound like. And so I didn't have that growing up. So I wanted to give that to them. That way they can, you know, be confident and give them that push. So that was important. So I'm glad about that.
I feel like every great educator has that similar story. I didn't get X, I didn't get Y, and I knew when I was going to go teach, I wanted to make sure that my kids got X and Y,
Right.
because I never got it. That's such a powerful thing to give to these kids. So as you're working with these middle school kids, you're working with a range from 6th grade through 8th grade. So we're talking about 11 to 14-year-old, and that is such a wild time in a kid's life. Yeah,
Right.
Dax.
Yeah.
You're going from I was playing with toys to now my hormones are full on raging,
Right.
and you're dealing with that during the course of trying to teach kids how to sing. But then the other thing, and I want you to talk about this, is you've got I've got one vocal range, and then and I'm there.
Right, right.
How does that play into your teaching?
It's a juggling act. I like middle school particularly because you do have that transition from, oh, I'm a kid, to, hey, I'm starting to realize what's going on around me and starting to make sense of the world, and now having to come into some type of maturity. I like that because it gives me time to really have conversations and be there for those students in ways that they might not get when you're in math or science. We are able to kind of help them more so and deal with some of the more emotional. Like, I can take the time if someone is particularly having a hard day. I can say, okay, like, let me go ahead and really deal with this student. There's several times, especially this year, as I get older and I realize that it's not about me. There's times where I'll watch a student and I'm noticing a change in something, and I'll have the opportunity to conference with them. And I'm like, hey, like, I just want you to know I'm here. Like, it's not about, like, we're here as a school. And sometimes what they share is like, man, they really didn't have to share that. I'm really glad that I took the time to take this moment, and not get caught up in the, oh, I got star tests to worry about, and we got to make sure that this grade's in. We got to, all that other stuff. So even though it's really busy, I teach 6 out of the 8 hours of a day, and trying to run a program can be extremely stressful because you have deadlines and things to meet outside of your school stuff that you need to do, and grades and all that. But I just feel privileged to be able to take those moments. So.
I think one of the hardest things for me as a singer was when I was younger, I was singing that lead tenor, that high tenor one, and man, I was murdering it. And then I hit puberty, and I went from a tenor to kind of like maybe a 10 or 2 if I stretched a little bit.
Right.
And as the older I've gotten, my range has
Plummeted.
descended.
Right.
So I'm more of a baritone. So when you've got kids that are going between those two things, and let's say one really loved that tenor portion and they wanted to stay there, how would you help a kid that had a voice change stay where they were, or is there a way to do that?
There's not a way to do that. I just encourage them to let the voice do what the voice is going to do. As I'm getting older, I'm learning how to expand my range. My senior recital in college, I was really struggling and thought that I wasn't going to be able to do my senior recital because my voice, I couldn't get as high as I used to be able to get. And so now it's sobering that my voice is settled, because your voice stops changing around 25-ish, I guess, for guys. That's when they're like, all right, your voice should be done.
Well, that's good for me. Then I'm not 25
Yeah,
yet.
yeah,
Because mine
yeah,
seems like it's
yeah.
changing all the time.
So, shoots, I'm like, now well into my 30s and check knee lights coming on and stuff. But, man, it's just like, man, your voice, I'm still able to find the beauty and the color of and I'm able to sing higher than I did when I was in my early, mid to late 20s. So I'm grateful for that because, but it's work. It's
Okay.
work.
All right, Dax, are you still singing the same part that you were when you started?
I am actually, and I'm a bass
Okay.
in the choir. And I remember in middle school in 6th grade, we didn't really have, sections. It was just like section 1 and section 2. There was no voice parts. And I remember being in 6th grade, I was the only bass. Because I pretty much, my voice started changing before most everybody's. So I would be able to sing certain things with the 7th and 8th grade choir that the 6th graders, I was a 6th grader, but they couldn't sing that. So I've pretty much stayed in that same vocal range. But expanding my range has been a big journey for me, because now I can sing notes higher than the tenors can.
Oh,
So.
okay. We'll touch you, pin a rose on your nose. This guy, he's listening to you. He's a success
He's a real
story.
man.
That's right. Okay. So you get in there and you've got this just fresh face full of 6th graders, this sea of white shirts in there. So the first thing you do is what?
First thing I do is we try to get them singing from day one, just get them singing. And through that, it's a lot of confidence building. a lot of them feel like I can't sing. That's the myth of singing. People get in there and like, I can't sing. They're told by all kinds of people, I can't sing. And it's a skill that you develop. And no slight to Taylor Swift. I love her music.
Okay.
But the truth be
Hold
told.
on, fans. It's coming. Go ahead.
Truth be told, Taylor Swift's trash. She's trash as a live singer. I'm not lying. Okay. I love Taylor Swift. But I mean, now she has a really, really beautiful live singing voice, and it's because she worked and took a lot of lessons. She's a great songwriter, in my opinion. I think her songs are really poignant. I think that they're good and just relevant for the culture. But the truth is, when she first started singing live, it was not what we call bel canto, and what that basically just means beautiful singing.
Right.
And there's a certain technique and a style. So when you listen to a singer there and you're like, man, I really like that, it's actually a style of singing. And she didn't have it. And so for people who are choral singers, choral directors, people who listen to and evaluate music, it's like, oh my God, just, get me out of here now. So, but without the auto-tune and stuff. So anyway, I said that to say people are like, oh, I don't know how to sing. Well, you didn't know how to do math before you got in algebra, but
Right.
you have to get in to learn. And we've had singers when I first got to Liberty, and shout out to Miss Bean, plug. She, I was of the persuasion, if you can't sing, don't get in choir. Don't do it. Don't just try it. But she, taught me like, hey, you can actually learn how to sing. I was like, what? And we've had singers over the years that they couldn't find a pitch if it hit them in the face like Will Smith hit Chris Rock though.
Ouch. Okay.
I mean,
he went there. He went ahead and mentioned it. Okay.
I did.
Relevant. Okay.
But no, I mean, like, yeah, we've had singers who just really couldn't get it, find that mesh. And but they get in, and over time we've had singers make it to the state level when years before they couldn't even get past the first rounds and things like that. So it's doable. It is doable. So and some of the best people in the program, I'm gonna say, are not the best at competition. Some of the best people in the program are not the best at competition. So I say that to say we would lose. It would be a detriment to the program to not have those people that are there that maybe you're not the best singers, the greatest talent, but, they're working toward that and they give their all. So.
I'm glad you mentioned you just were dropping a whole bunch of nuggets there.
Preaching. This is not free.
Hey,
I don't preach for
it's
free.
okay. It's okay. Daxon's got your check. One of the things that you said, talking about people, live singers versus recording artists, I almost never will really enjoy someone until I hear them live. And there are several people, I heard something on the radio, I'm like, oh, I like him. And then I went to a concert, ooh. Yeah. Maybe I like their sound engineer. That's who I like.
Right. Basically.
I want to talk, probably the last thing we'll be able to talk about today, I want to talk about a 4-letter word that in your circles it could be bad, and I know when people hear it, it's like nails on a chalkboard. So the first time that you say solo, the first time especially that 6th grade bunch, do you get the face, I don't know about that, Mr. Patterson. My mama told me how to be in choir. I don't really want to sing. I'm just here for a credit.
Right.
Is that the kind of reaction you get when you say solo?
Solos are always hard, and it's funny because the expectation, people, I was come to the realization this year what the community and people expect a choir to do and what technically they can do are two totally different things. So, for instance, they learn songs on the radio. You give them a solo to go and learn, and they'll come back and they'll have you're like, that's not even that word. How did you find that word? I don't see it, and I wear glasses, but I'm like, I don't see it there. I mean, you get all kinds of stuff, and of course we're there to evaluate. And, when you're learning songs on the radio, it's very passive, and it's like, you're not looking for correct notes and rhythms and making sure everything is perfect, but when you talk about singing in a choral environment, what people want to hear and what they're able to do on their own, solely on their own, are two totally different skills. So at the middle school level, if we just as an experiment just said, okay, here's a song we want y'all to do, go and learn it. We're not going to help you in any way. Just go and learn. Here's the track. Here's everything you need. Go and learn this song. It would sound like a complete disaster. And people would be offended, because they're like, well, it's supposed to sound this way. It's supposed to be like this. It's not memorized. It's not. They don't know the last words. So it's a lot of skills that we're trying to teach. I said that to say, like, we are really trying to teach skills and trying to teach them to get to that level where at like high school where they are able to be competent and learn songs on their own. So solos are frustrating on both ends. I think that the singers are like intimidated by it, but also for us, it's when you have 17,000 people doing different solos and you have to get with each one, there's so much to unpack, so much to deal with, and to get it to the level where it needs to be. So, and
we've had some just magnificently wonderful solo artists come through the program, and I'm thinking right now off the top of my head, Naila Donato, Caitlin Singh, and the list goes on. It goes on and on and on. As you're preparing these kids to come into the high school, what is the single hardest challenge for you to get them ready for Miss Bean at the high school?
The rigor increases drastically, and Daxton can tell you, and I tried to tell them in their 8th grade year, I'm like, all right, so I would bring sight reading and stuff from the high school past competitions and things, bring examples of music, but it's until they interact with it that they realize, oh, like he wasn't playing. This is the real deal. It really increases from, all right, here's a little, razzle dazzle, hey, here you go, to you literally have a orchestra that's going to be playing with you just like that, and you got to balance all that, and it's fugal and everybody's singing at different times. So it just gets immensely harder. And the crazy part about it is what the music the kids start with at the beginning of the year is the hardest music they'll do all year, oddly enough. So we're literally jumping them in August with the hardest music that they'll do. So they'll go from their 8th grade year, their freshman year in August, they're doing the hardest music they ever will do. And in September, they have to compete.
So they're getting off the couch and getting after it. So they can't be on the couch.
Right.
All summer.
And you got football practice and basketball and this, and pre this, pre that, and, homework and all that stuff compiled. And you still have to try to practice foreign languages and making sure you're pronouncing it right. And it gets immense.
It's a whole thing. All right, Mr. P, last thing, we need to wrap this up here. I always give our guests the opportunity to give us a life lesson, some kind of one little piece of advice, something that we can take with us, whether we're watching live or we come back and watch it later on. What's one thing that someone could take from you and your experiences that could help them in their life? See, this is the curveball. Curveball.
Right. There's two things that I kind of keep present.
No, I said one thing.
Oh, one
no,
thing.
Just go ahead, give me two.
There's one thing, and I guess it all kind of ties in together. Dale Carnegie, I love his quote. He says that a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. And Socrates had a quote that he says, the only thing I know for certain is that I know nothing. And I just kind of live with that every day. I'm always learning and growing. The moment we stop and we say, oh yeah, I know that for certain. Like this is the truth. This is my truth. You stop growing, and what we try to do, and it's happening all over the world. We try to make everybody else, our conviction theirs. And if you try to convince someone against their own will, they're still going to be convinced, no matter how many facts you present, no matter what, they're still going to be convinced of that same opinion that they have. And the truth be told is you only know what you think you know. And you don't know what you don't know. How do you know that you know? I asked someone the other day, I said, have you ever been wrong? I ask students that often. I say, have you ever been wrong? I say, I'll tell you another secret. You're wrong now about something. You just don't know it.
Oh, you sound like my wife.
Right. So, I just approach life with the curiosity, and I think that is what has helped me to get as far as I've gotten. I don't claim to be special in any way, but I'm like, hey, I don't know. This is just what I think I know. And
Well, Mr. P, you are certainly special to us, and I know I can speak on behalf of many, many people. Glad you're here.
Thank
Glad you didn't hang it up. Glad you stayed with Liberty ISD. You've been watching LHS Live. I'm Joe Roberts. As always, interesting guest, Mr. Marco Patterson, the award-winning LMS choral director. Special guest Daxton Frazier with me as well. Going to be throwing a show down the pipe pretty soon. It's going to be the Daxton Frazier Show. Pretty excited about that.
turn it up.
All right, gang. We will see you next week for another episode and another interesting guest. Thanks for watching every Wednesday morning from 9:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. New guests every week on relevant topics. Community-based. Student-driven. Don't forget to tune in next week for LHS Live.